Being an independent tutor can be very lonely sometimes. And it's sometimes hard to get through these moments where you just have everything on your plate and no help, and you have to do it on your own. Hello, my name is Jane, and I help independent tutors create a business that they actually love and not just something that looks good on paper. We need to love our business. Of course, we love tutoring, and that's why we do it. But there's so many more things in an individual business, in an independent business, that sometimes makes us doubt what we're doing. And I'm here to tell you that it's totally normal to feel that it's overwhelming and it's too much, and maybe even you can feel a bit burnt out sometimes, because we do everything, right? We do obviously the tutoring, but that's just such a small bit of our business. Even though that is what our business is about, we have everything else. We have talking to the clients, the potential students, we have the invoicing, we have the curriculum. We need to prep. If someone is sick, what do we do about that? We need to write contracts and terms and conditions. We need to make sure the scheduling is right. We have maybe also family and an apartment and other things. We have the finances. We have also our emotional and social life. There are so many things. And I often see that this can cause a problem because the tutor might think, well, maybe the tutoring is not for me. But that's not the right why, so to speak, right? Because we love to help people. That's why we do what we do, right? But it's all the other things that can cause this feeling of being overburdened with so many things, and we do not have enough time in the days and all these things. And yes, it is an emotional kind of loneliness that we can feel. It's like we are alone all the time, right? We are alone in the lessons, we are alone to do all the marketing and the sales, we are alone in all of it. So it is totally normal to feel this kind of like doubts and kind of like, well, am I actually doing the right thing? But again, when you look at it, it's a little bit like, well, at least when I started, I knew it was going to be like this. I knew that if I start my own tutoring business, it's me. It's all here, right? I have to wear all the hats, change my hats 60 times a day to be able to run my business. And I think that even though we might feel overwhelmed and lonely and feeling that it's tough on some days, which obviously it is, it's not just, pink roses every day, right? We also need to remember why we're doing this, and we need to remember the freedoms that come with having your own business. I mean, I could never imagine, well, I could imagine, but I don't want to do anything else, despite the fact that I'm sitting in my office alone when I'm not tutoring, right? And I do all my business things. But I prefer that, because I do not have to do other things I don't want to do. So you have to weigh it up. And I think if you've decided, and if you are today an independent tutor, that means you want to go towards the freedoms that this gives you, compared to if you would be teaching in a school, or which there's nothing wrong with. I teach in a school this year as well, okay? But I just think that sometimes we need to assume a little bit our position and say, okay, well, yes, this is lonely, and I do feel, kind of, completely on my own, and I do not have any colleagues, and it can obviously come to a point where, you really do not feel good about this. But all taken into account, what do you prefer? And it's 2 seconds for me. I prefer that I can set my own hours. I can charge what I want per lesson. I can decide the structure that I want in each lesson. I can decide what materials. I can even decide what clients I take on. All of this, for me, is way more valuable compared to, okay, I have to sit and do it all, okay? And there's nothing that says that we can't outsource, right? There are some things that is like, okay, you're not really good at it at all, or, and you have something where you say, okay, this is just taking me forever to do. Nothing says that you can't outsource it, even if it's small bits. It doesn't have to be many things. It's like I still write my own invoices because I know exactly where we at. I know each student. I know what they're paying for. I know, it's much faster for me to do it myself than to tell someone else to do it. Okay? But I just think that it's important that we look at, okay, yes, I am also lonely sometimes. And, okay, well, one, I think of, my structure, my business. Is this actually worth it? Quote unquote, compared to what I get. And also, what can I do to change that? Because you do not have to be completely lonely, right? I have colleagues that have turned into friends that I speak to regularly. A little WhatsApp message and say, hi, what you up to? And we talk about the problems in our business. We talk about the good things that has happened. We give advice. We help each other. That's why we have a Facebook group that is open for any tutors and teachers in France. So we can, lean on each other and support each other, which is like super important, right? And that kind of diminishes this feeling of being completely on your own, okay? But I personally love being on my own. It's like I put on like some music and I do the tasks that I'm not really interested in doing. If I have to do a bunch of marketing, okay, so, I do them and then I reward myself, with a cup of tea or something nice, okay? So there are ways of handling these moments of, doubt and where you just feel, okay, this is, it can be overwhelming. There's so many, parts that move all the time, right? And I understand it can be a bit much sometimes, okay? But we have to kind of fess up, right? And realize that we made this choice. And really, if it's not something that is in your kind of personality and you feel, no, I like to have my colleagues, I like to have this social network, I like to just show up and teach, right? Perfect. Then find something that fits you like that, okay? It's not that you have to slave through being an independent tutor just because, you thought that was a good idea 3 years ago and now you're completely struggling and you just hate it. Okay, change it, right? But if that is what you still want and that, yes, there are ups and downs, then always look at the bigger picture. And secondly, find out those things that, are putting it down a little bit or you do not know how to do. That could either be literally just a community. You are missing talking to people. You're missing this community sense from teachers. Okay, there are loads of communities out there. Okay? And if it's specific business points, okay, is there something you can outsource? Or is there something that you just need to say, okay, that's just part of it and you'll just do it and that'll be the end of that, right? And you do it hopefully with a bit of a smile and then things are going to go better. okay? And you're gonna feel less kind of like in this big sea of stuff that you have to do. Obviously, writing each day, what you would like to achieve that day is super helpful as well. But in this video, I just wanted to talk about the fact that it can feel overwhelming. And it can feel overwhelming to the point where you're actually not sure if this is what you should be doing. Right? There are so many doubts that can creep in, and that makes you think, well, what am I doing? Okay? But do always, when you get that, try, if possible, zoom out and say, okay, the plus points are these, the minus points are these, and see, hopefully you will have more plus points. I always end up with more plus points, right? So it's just important that, find some good friends that understand your business, or find some colleagues that understand what you're going through, because it's not everyone that understands what it takes to be an independent tutor. They don't, right? I have friends that teach in school, and it's a completely different setting, right? Because they they do a lot of stuff, and I admire all the teachers that can go to school every day and still be passionate about their job. It's like, hats off, really. But they have other challenges than we do, right? So it's just make sure that you surround yourself with people who know what it takes to run your own business on your own, doing everything yourself. Because if someone have not tried this, and they have not seen what efforts and maybe what sacrifices sometimes that it takes, then find people that do. Because the moment you have that, it's so easy to talk about, and they understand you, right? It's like when I speak to my clients, it's like, yes, they feel I get it because I do get it. And it's super important because it's a very specific kind of breed of people who decide to become independent tutors. And it's super rewarding, and I love it, and I wouldn't change it for anything. But in those moments where we doubt ourselves and what we do and can we actually pull it off, that's where you need to find these people who know what you mean. And also see how can you outsource some things if need be, but otherwise always go back to what are the plus points in what you're doing. And that just makes it easier to overcome these tough days when it can be, everything can be a bit shaky. Okay, so I would like to know, what is your favorite part of being an independent tutor? What is the first thing that comes to mind when I say, what is the best part of being an independent tutor with your own business? Let me know.